Pancreas is a really interesting gland because it is mixed, meaning it has an endocrine function and an exocrine function. The exocrine function is digestive, so we're going to talk about that when we get to the digestive tract in a future lab. But for today, we want to focus on that endocrine function of secreting hormones. And the main hormones involved with the pancreas are going to be insulin and glucagon. So macroscopically, the pancreas sits just underneath the stomach, so it's kind of providing a bed of glandular tissue. And then we'll talk about this model in future units and how these structures within the pancreas are going to connect to the rest of our digestive tract, starting with that small intestine. Let's go ahead and switch now to some histology. So within the pancreas, we have cells called delta cells, and then we're going to have our exocrine tissue here. So the main thing when we're looking at histology is we want to focus in on these little kind of islands of white, lighter tissue here. We're not going to worry about this kind of darker pink stuff, but it can help us to identify this as the pancreas. The endocrine function of the pancreas is all done by this kind of blob of white here. This is called an islet of Langerhans, sometimes called a pancreatic islet, and that's ISLET. So it basically just means it's a little island of tissue in the sea of the pancreas, and that's a good memory cue to remember this. So a little more about that histology. These islets, again, are responsible for secreting hormones. In this case, we're dealing with insulin and glucagon. So glucagon is going to raise our blood sugar levels, and it's basically going to convert our stored glycogen into usable energy, aka glucose. This is produced by alpha cells, and then our insulin is going to be produced in a different type of cell called the beta cell. Insulin, as you may be familiar with, lowers blood sugar levels. And so it's going to just signal cells to uptake glucose and take it out of our bloodstream. So all of that will happen within this pancreatic islet. And so we've got a combination of those alpha cells producing glucagon, beta cells producing insulin, and then we have another third type that's producing a different hormone that you don't have to worry about for now. All around it, so this darker pink stuff, this is referred to as acinar cells, and that's ACINAR, sometimes called pancreatic acinar cells. And so this term acinar pops up a lot when we talk about a lot of different types of gland tissue. So it's just making like these little berry-shaped clusters of cells in that exocrine pancreas. So in terms of what you want to know for the lab exam and just this class in general, you want to be able to identify these pancreatic islets. If you see these clusters of white on a slide, that's how you know you're dealing with the pancreas. Now, don't confuse these with adipose tissue, which we saw with the parathyroid gland. This tissue is still endocrine in nature. We still have cells, cuboidal cells in this case, producing hormones. So these lighter patches indicate this is pancreas. The darker pink stuff here is all exocrine pancreas that's going to have that digestive function. And then one last kind of clinical application that might help you to remember this stuff and keep it straight. A lot of times, type 1 diabetes can mess with our pancreas. And sometimes what happens is we create pancreatic autoimmunity, where our own immune system is targeting these pancreatic islets, these lighter patches. And in that process, we destroy the cells that are responsible for producing insulin. So we are destroying beta cells, and then we can't produce insulin to control blood sugar levels, and that leads to just general elevated blood sugar, and that can have all sorts of complications in the body, as you may know if you are diabetic or if you know someone who is diabetic.